Welcome back to my channel. God bless you. Today I'm going to be showing you how I made this beautiful skirt. If it's something that you're interested in, please keep on watching and don't forget to subscribe, support my page. God bless. Okay, let's go straight into the cutting of this skirt. The first is to fold your fabric into two. You measure your hip using your hip measurement. You know your hip is the widest part of your skirt. That's the widest width of your skirt. So mine is 46. The measurement I'm using is 46. So I'm going to divide 46 into 4, which is 11 and a half. So 11 and a half plus 2 inches allowance, that will be 13 and a half. So I'm going to be using 14 just for ease, just in case. I'm going to fold my fabric into 2 by 14. I'm using 14. I'm folding into 2 using 14. When you are done with that, you put 2 inches allowance at the end. That's your length, the length of your skirt. At the bottom part of your skirt, you put 2 inches allowance. You can fold it up, or you can use your chalk to measure your desired length and you add the 2 inches allowance. But me, I'm going to fold it up just the way I'm doing it, like this. Then I'll measure my 23 inches. I'll measure my length, which is 23 inches. You can pin that part down, or you can use something to hold it, as the case may be. Then from your 2 inches allowance, you take your normal skirt length, which is 23 inches. I am using 23 inches. You can always use any desired length of your choice. You can always use any desired length of your choice. It can be higher, it can be lower. Then you mark it. The next is to take your... What we are going to do next now, we are going to take our waist measurement. Waist measurement is your waist measurement divided by 4, which the measurement I'm taking is 38. So 38 divided by 4 is 9.5. So we are going to mark your 9.5 and add 2 inches allowance. 2 inches allowance is for the dart and for the remaining allowance when you're taking your measurements for the skirt, because you need allowance to be able to sew your clothes. So I'm going to also... So what we are going to do next, when you are done taking that measurement, as you can see, you measure from your waist to where your hip is. Ideally 8 should be enough, but because I want my skirt to be on my tummy, above my waist, like on my navel, so I'm going to make it 10. So from my waist to my hip, I take 10 inches. But if you don't want yours to be that high, you can take 8 inches. So, and that, so you continue, then you measure it. So when you have finished taking that measurement, you measure from your... You may take your hip measurement. Your hip measurement, my hip measurement is 11.5 plus my 2 inches allowance, make it 13.5. Then I'll measure my the down of my skirt. That's my knee length. So it's going to be -1 of my hip measurement. My hip measurement is 11.5. You take your hip measurement -1 inch. So -1 inch is 10. For me, my hip is 11.5, -1 inch is 10.5. That is what I measured at my knee length, where I want the skirt to reach, and then I added 2 inches allowance. Then I join it together from my hip to the knee length to the length where I want my skirt to be, and down to my waist. Then you join all your measurements together. When you join all your measurements together, just like as I'm doing it on your screen, you cut it out. You cut all the lines together. Please don't cut out your allowance at the end of it. Just follow the chalk, just as you can see me doing. You cut it out like this. notch your measurements. You notch where you want the length to be, and now you take the darts. Oh, sorry, it's not showing. It's not really showing at the screen. You take your darts. So that measurement is half of your waist. You add half inches, and then you take your scissors and also notch that part. That is what I'm doing. You notch it, and that is that with the front. You take your material, you fold it into two, and you use that to cut the back. Fold your material, place it on the table. You use that, do it like so. You arrange it very well. Be careful, you know the material has pattern, so you must make sure that the pattern is aligning to the pattern. The first pattern is aligning to the other pattern to make your work very neat and more professional. Don't just place it anyhow, especially when you're using a fabric that has pattern. But if you're using all this flowering fabric that doesn't have pattern, it doesn't matter. So when you're placing the front at the back, make sure you check for you are going to put allowance for your zip, very important. So you put like 2 inches allowance for your zip, allowance, like 2 inches allowance for your zip. You are going to be putting your zip. And you're done with that, check everything is correct, the length and everything is correct, the pattern, everything is aligning with each other. Then you measure the 2 inches allowance, you just give it a little bit mark, you check it, and then you cut it out. You cut it out following the front that you place on the back, leaving the 2 inches allowance for the zip. You cut it out. And you are done. You launch the length, the darts, the front darts and the back darts. Remember how we measured the darts? Half of your waist plus half inches. Then you also cut the length so that both of them can align. Then you open the back. And you are done. You place it's time to cut the lining. You fold your lining into two, just like you fold it. Now you place your fabric, the fabric that you just cut, on top of the lining. Don't forget your 2 inches allowance. Now you will make sure that the lining, the 2 inches, is above the lining. That is why I like folding it up, because it's not supposed to be together. You're not supposed to keep that 2 inches allowance when you're cutting the lining. So the 2 inches, you don't need to put that length allowance when you're cutting the lining. So you just cut exactly the measurements. That is why you fold it on top of it, so that to avoid any mistake, place it very, very equal, 23 inches to 23 inches. No need for the length allowance on the lining. You place it very well, then you cut it out. Same thing to the back. You place the back on the lining on equal. Make sure it is equal. You take out, don't forget the allowance at the length part. That's at the new length where you want the material to be. You also take that side out. You fold it up so that you don't make any mistake. So you take it out. You do not put allowance on the length. You do the same thing that you did in the front. You do the same thing at the back, and then you cut it out also. So it's time to sew. You open up the front, you place your lining at the mouth, at the tip, you take it to the machine, and you sew it straight down, just like so. You sew it straight down. Quickly do that. So this is how it looks like. When you are done, this is what I mean. You just sew it out like this. When you are done, you take the allowance upward and you sew that place also down like this. Sew it down. I use a very visible tray so that you understand what I mean. So you take that part, you see, you take the allowance up and you sew it down. You can see just like it's showing on your screen. You sew this other side down, you sew this other side so down. Sew it down, you sew that one so down. Straight sewing. Make sure your sewing is very straight and neat. So this is how it will look like when you're done sewing it. You can see, then you turn it. You turn the front to the back. You can see this is how it will look like when you sew this side and sew the other side. Then you turn it. Trim out every excess so that it will be neat. And then you turn it. You do the same thing in the back. This is how it should look like. You do the same thing at the back. You iron it very neatly with your pressing iron. So let's go over to the ironing table, iron it and bring it back so that we can see how it will look like. This is how everything will look like, the front and the back. When you finish ironing it, everything will be neat. Even you'll be proud of your job. You iron it neat, you place it on each other, then you close the mouth. You see the mouth of the opening, that's the waist. You close everything. You close it, head it to the machine and you close it. Let's quickly do that and come back. So this is how it will look like when you are done closing all the mouths. You can see how neat it is. Then the next thing we are going to do now is to close the back. We're going to join the back together and take out for the zip allowance. So now we are going to measure the slits where you want the zip to get to and where you want the slit to get to. You look at it very well, you place it. Remember the 2 inches where we notch when we measure the zip allowance. So you just place it there and notch that place. But if you did not notch it when you are cutting, you can also use the front to locate where you notch it and you cut it out. You just notch it, locate where the zip allowance will start from, then you cut it out. It's very important so that your work will be neat. When you are done with that, you measure. For me, I want my slit to be 7. You measure your zip area. My zip area I measured 7, and my slit area I measured 7.5. So what you are going to do next is you head to the machine. You make sure that the zip area you sew it loose sewing because you are going to lose it, and the slit area you sew it loose sewing so that because you are going to lose it, but the middle you are going to sew it very tight because that part are not going to lose it and you are going to stop stitch it. Make sure it is very very tight. So let's head. You lose so now we are done. We are going to lose that zip area now and fix the zip. I'm going to be doing the close zip pattern. There are different patterns of fixing your zip, but I'm going to do the close zip pattern. Let me quickly do it and bring it back so you will see how it is done. So this is it when you're done fixing your zip. This is how the close zip method look like. You can see you're not seeing the tip of my zip, but I have fixed the zip. You go and you give it a good press. Your iron is anywhere. That is that. So right now we are going to take what next is for us to go and hold our darts. Take our darts measurement for the 4 sides before we take our final measurements. Now we measure our darts. For the back, I want the length of my dart to be 6 inches from the place we notch when we are cutting the skirt, that's where the dart is. I'll measure 6 inches, and in the front I want it to be 8 inches. So I measure the back 6 inches, the both back 6 inches, and the front 8 inches. So right now we are back. We are back from holding the dart. So this is how it looks like. You can see the back, also the front. Now it is time for us to take our final measurements. As you can see, we are done with the dart. Now let's take our final measurements. What we do next is you look for your midpoint. When you've gotten your midpoint, you take your measurement from that place. First thing you are going to do is to take our waist measurement. Our waist measurement is 38 divided by 4, 9.5. You chalk the 9.5. This is very important. Be careful so that it's not too small or too long. Then we take our hip. Don't forget 10 inches is where we take our hip measurement from. That's 10 inches from the waist to where the hip is. Then you take our hip measurement. My hip measurement is 11.5. So I take my 11.5. Then the down measurement, which is served as the knee measurement, that's the length, is the hip minus 1 inches. So I take 10.5 inches at that place. Do the same thing to the other side. You join it together. Do the same thing to the other side. Then we are done with the measurements. Then we head over to the machine and sew it. So let's quickly do that. Show you. When we are done with that, as you can see, we are done with holding. We are done with taking our measurements. The next step is to loosen the slit. Loosen the slit. When you're done loosening the slit, you fold the fabric. I'm going to be doing the flap style, so we are going to sew it that way straight. Then let's do that and bring it back. This is that. So this is it. We are done losing the slit, because I want the slit to be like a flap, not just opening. So I've stitched out that part. I've opened it and I've stitched that part straight, just like I explained earlier, as you can see. Then I'll take it back to the machine and hold it in place so that it will stop coming coming inside when I'm working. So I'm just going to take it to the machine and hold that place in place, just like I am explaining. When you're done with that, you bias your skirts round. Place your bias on the skirts, folding them out inside. Then you sew it round. Your skirt is ready. This is the finished product. Your skirt is ready. You can see how neat it is. You can see how very beautiful your skirt is looking. Thank you so much for watching this. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. God bless you real good. Bye bye. See you next time.